It is day 300 and we have, 65 more days to go to end the year 2021. Oh, Joe, I'm pretty excited. You know how excited I am when we're getting towards the end of the year. It is a pretty good one. All right, welcome to another Wednesday edition of Breakfast Central on News Central. Oluchi Enobong reporting for duty.
And I am Joe Hansen. Good morning, Africa. We're here with the top stories and news from around the continent and beyond. So let's begin with a quick look at the headlines for today, October 27, 2021. We'll take you straight to Anambra, where the IGP has deployed DIGs, 5 AIGs and 14 CPs.
And we will have a guest who will be talking about Inara and its effect on SMEs.
That's right, death threat to gay couples is fake news. We'll take you to Zimbabwe for that.
And we will be going to Sudan, where the Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok has been released.
We'll also tell you about Ghana musician Shatta Wale, who has been granted bail. Get it? You're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central, and you can follow us on all socials. We are at News Central TV on Instagram, Facebook. You can also watch us live on Facebook, and not forget to on YouTube. Well, don't forget you can also drop your comments. You'll find the number right there on the screen on WhatsApp. So let's quickly take a look at the front pages of the papers for this morning. We'll begin right away with The Punch in Nigeria. And The Punch has this strong header that says FG lists Diezani's buildings, jewellery, bras for sale, values Bade's mansions, suspects wedding gowns, invisible bras, 64 pairs of shoes for sale, 1,620 items including cars, houses, phones, laptops, vessels listed, a lot to be sold. That's exactly what you have at the front page of the Punch newspaper. At the top right, you can also see Inara app hits 100,000 downloads in 24 hours amid complaints. I haven't downloaded mine yet, and I know that she hasn't, except she's done that. Have you done that already?
I haven't done that yet, Jill, but I plan to.
All right, at the top, you could also find stories: power, poor transportation, port facilities killing Nigeria's manufacturers, additional says. You can find that on page 21. Also on page 21, NNPC marketers inflated imported petrol figures under Buhari Jonathan, according to Sanusi. So many stories to read in the Punch newspaper this morning and today. Go ahead and ensure that you do all of that. I'll take just one more, just quickly, one more. And it says PDP hints of NEC meeting if a court stops convention. Like I said, take a look at that front page of the Punch. It is loaded. Make sure you get yourself a copy.
Moving from the Punch in Nigeria to Uganda, we're looking at the Daily Monitor this morning. Now, it's a very sad story we have here. One of the stories here talks about mystery deepens over blast victims. Who are they is the first question that you can get from page 3, 4, and 5, with a rider that says scanty details on Isaac Matovu. Police probe 1.8 billion shilling ADF cash. MPs demand answers on bombs, and Museveni orders investigation. That's a very sad story, but you can get more details from pages 3, 4, and 5 of the Daily Monitor. Now you can see this picture here. These are major stakeholders, and it's a courtesy call. Ghanaian president to co-host NMG Kusi Ideas Festival. Now you can also see the Ghanaian Tourism Authority there. You can also find the President of the Republic of Ghana and some major stakeholders. That's a good one for Ghana at this point. We're also on page 6 talking about the educational sector. Schools high cutoff grades for S1 and S5. And on page 3, looking at the transportation system, police issue strict rules for buses, taxis. More on that from the Daily Monitor.
All right, away from the Daily Monitor now, let's go to Daily Nation in Kenya. And the Daily Nation has the header, Political Suicide or Clever Plan. It talks about the jury being out in only the August 2022 general election will tell whether the decision by Kirinyaga Governor Annie Waguru to cast a lot with Deputy President William Ruto is the smartest move yet, of her short political career, or she will live to rue the day she defected from Jubilee Party. Her move came months after the endorsed Orange Democratic Movement leader Raila Odinga's presidential candidacy. So make sure you cop the Daily Nation. At the top, you also have Governor Kananu. Why nobody saw this coming on page 23. I'm sure you would actually have a deeper insight into that story once you ensure that you can pick it up right away.
All right, away from the papers, let's now bring you the top stories from Africa.
The Inspector General of Police, Usman Akali Baba, has deployed 2 Deputy Inspector Generals of Police and 5 Assistant Inspectors, and also not forgetting they have gone to the Anambra State in particular to help ensure adequate security for the November 6th governorship election in the southeast state. The deployment is apparently a response to the general apprehension that the election may be disrupted by the pro-Biafra group IPOB.
Now, the spokesperson of the force headquarters in Abuja, Frank Mba, who announced the deployment in a statement yesterday in Abuja, said 14 commissioners of police, 31 deputy commissioners of police, and 48 assistant commissioners of police have also been deployed to the state. Now, according to the statement, the deployment is a major overhauling of the security landscape in Anambra ahead of the election.
Well, here are the deployed officers. We have DIG Joseph Igbunike, who is to coordinate the security component for the election, to be assisted by the Acting Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of operations, Zaki Ahmed. Other strategic commanders deployed to Anambra State include 5 Assistant Inspector Generals of Police, AIGs, 14 Commissioners of Police, CPs, 31 Deputy Commissioners of Police, DCPs, and 48 Assistant Commissioners of Police, ACPs.
Now, the senior officials are to coordinate human and other operational deployments in the 3 senatorial districts, 21 local government areas, and the 5,720 polling units in Anambra State.
Well, to discuss more on the security apparatus ahead of the election, we have human rights lawyer Abdul Mahmoud. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. Tell us what you make of this particular election in Anambra State, and is the redeployment the right thing to do?
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning, Nigerians. We have traveled this path before. I'm not enthused by the news of the current deployment to Anambra State. When I say we have traveled this path before, I have my handle on history, particularly a very recent history in Kogi State, in Osun State, and also in Kano State, all of last year. Take, for example, Kogi State. We all knew that the intelligence report on the high level of the presence of small and light arms in that state in the weeks, preceding the 2019 elections, the information was in the public space. The police told us that they were going to combat what was increasingly, a menace and a threat to the elections in that state. We saw what happened. In Osun State, the same thing. We saw what happened. In Kano State, we also saw what happened. When we're talking of a police force that is as partisan as the political parties that are involved in the election process, there's no assurance that we will not get or experience or witness what we saw in Kogi last year, when that phrase, became a common phrase in our country. Look, my friends, we're talking of the Nigerian police force that is partisan. For me, I consider 3 axes of evil in our country today. Institutions that rig elections, institutions that should stay outside the fray of politics, but they have become part of the political process. Whether we admit it or not, the federal police represent the interests of the federal state. And whoever governs the federal state, runs the police force as if the police as if the police is a piper that dances to a tune. And we've seen how the police itself as an institution dance to the pipe tune of the ruling party in our country. Let us not be deceived by the number of policemen that have been deployed to Anambra State. 38,000, 34,000 was deployed to Kogi last in 2019. What happened?
Okay, now as a human rights lawyer yourself, there's been conversation about the name tag unknown gunmen given to this miscreant constituting security threats in the southeast region, especially Anambra State. Are they really unknown in the real sense of it?
I don't work in intelligence, so neither am I a police officer. So I will not be able to determine the character and nature of those who have taken to arms and who are unleashing mayhem, in the southeast region of our country. Yes, there is a fundamental problem as it relates to security in our country. The question we'll ask is, what has been the response of Nigerian police force? In fact, what has been the response of the Nigerian state itself? The nation state is threatened. We'll fold our arms. The nation state is threatened. No conscious security framework is rolled out for us to address some of these problems we are seeing, that we are seeing. That we have Nigerian police force deploying 38,000 men and women to Anambra State does not give me assurance that the menace of the UGM or non-government in the southeast will be addressed. Look, we are dealing with elections. The institutions that organize the election in our country is INEC. The question I ask, this security and intelligence framework mechanism we are throwing all over the place in Anambra, is it being led by INEC itself? INEC understands the nature and character of elections it is organizing. It understands the threat to it. Is INEC leading, the security framework as we have seen it in itself? Is the charm of INEC involved in that institutional policing process, which the MPF, Nigerian Police Force, is throwing out? If it's not, I see us ending up like Osun State. We saw what happened. Talks were all over the place, running around cities, ensuring that opposition voters did not have access to polling centers. We saw what happened in Kano in broad daylight. We saw what happened in Kogi. We saw how Nigerian police force helicopters, were ferreting, members of the ruling class in Kogi State, and we saw how these helicopters were shooting, were shooting in strongholds of the opposition parties. It's not enough for police to tell us, look, we are deploying 5 AIGs, 2 deputy inspector general of police in a small state, in a small state like Anambra. But my thinking here is, this is my idea. It might be laughable because it's a small state. We will see men and women of Nigerian police overlapping their duties and functions in order to secure, to secure the state.
All right,
the
Mr.
result that we saw in Kogi, in Osun, and in Kano in 2019 is what we will get.
All right, Mr. Abdul, it seems you're not. With your statements, it seems that you're not in full support of this deployment, especially of the officers by the Inspector General of Police. But let me ask you this quickly. What do you make of the fact that the state governors have not come out to say anything, especially looking at the elections? Or do you think the elections should not hold?
Yeah, Anambra presents an intriguing scenario for Nigeria. Whether we admit it or not, IPOB led by Nnamdi Kanu might be operating outside the political process. It's a fringe social political movement. Whether we admit it or not, that movement itself has garnered some level of support. How have we engaged the political leadership in our country engage IPOB in order to secure a peaceful and free elections in Anambra is what I really doubt. You can't go gung-ho to a state where people are genuinely of the opinion that they've been ostracized, they've not been allowed, to express themselves within the federal framework, the federal framework in our country. I think for me, the problem in the Southeast gets to, solutions to the problem in the Southeast gets to do with us deciding to take the political road, engage a movement that appear to have control and command of the people of that region. Engage him in some level of discussion. The traditional political elite in the Southeast, is not doing that. The leadership of our country is not doing that. When we go gung-ho, see, this is what will happen. IPOB has not issued a statement, as far as I'm aware, that they are boycotting the Anambra elections. But I have read in the public media that it is a desire of the movement itself to call for public boycott of the elections. And if what we see with the every Monday stay at home is what we will see on the 6th of November, there's likelihood that Anambra will become a graveyard on a day a decisive election is taking place in that state. It's late now. We can't engage IPOB. All political parties are in the field. The Nigerian police have said that they deployed men and women, in Anambra. All I'm calling for us to avoid the tatata situation in Kogi, the state robbery that we saw in Osun in 2019, and the violence we saw in Kano, naked violence in the street of Kano. The police should live above the political fray. The police should partisan itself.
All right. Thank you so much. I think we've gotten a lot from you. Thank you so much, human rights lawyer Abdul Mahmoud, for joining us. Your points we have taken. Thank you. Thank you for being here on Breakfast. All right, moving on now to our next top story, and that is exactly where we are going to. We're leaving the shores of Nigeria, West Africa, and Sudan's toppled Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok is in the news. Well, he has been released and taken back to his own home in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum. Coup leader and army chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan had said earlier that he was keeping Hamdok at his residence for his own safety.
Al-Burhan on Monday declared a state of emergency across the country while dissolving the country's transitional authorities, maintaining that the military seizure of power, saying, was to avoid the civil war. Now we have joining us this morning, we have Ibrahim Mokhtar. He is a researcher in the Institute Relation at Ankara-based Yildirim Bayesi University. Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining. Now, what more do we know about the release of Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok? Can you please tell us?
Thank you for having me. Good morning. The first thing I would like to say that is we are not sure whether he is released. We can say he's taken back to his home, but there is still talk of that the Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok is under house arrest. Another development is that U.S. Secretary Antony Blinken has had a phone call with the Prime Minister, and he expressed his relief of his release, but he's also making contacts with other regional countries like Saudi Arabia and the chairperson of the African Union, at the same time the president of Democratic Republic of Congo, on the developments in Sudan. We also know that the last night's meeting that was emergency meeting that was held by the United Nations Security Council has not ended up with a common statement because of differences, mainly surrounding whether what happened in Sudan was a coup or was something else.
All right. Well, let's also ask this. What's the latest with the protests that we've actually seen before now? What has the opposition party been doing, and how much momentum has the protest gathered? Let's talk about the protest now.
Well, sources on the ground tell us that the protests are still ongoing, and the Sudanese are, creating roadblocks and erecting roadblocks because Sudanese have bitter experiences with military coups that have often resulted to the overthrow of democratic governments. This is not the first time that is happening. And the internet outage, of course, limits our access to what is exactly happening on ground. But what we are aware of is that what you call a million million people rally is being organized right now, and it doesn't seem like the Sudanese youth who make the vast or the biggest percentage of the population ready to let go of their hard and short-lived democracy.
Right now, Ibrahim, still looking at the protesters, we hear that they are demanding that Hamdok be reinstated as prime minister. Is this likely to happen?
It's difficult to say at the moment, but it seems like the president and the head of the Sovereign Council, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, is isolated in the region and internationally at the moment, because the Sudanese are not seeming to back off. Prior to the decision to dissolve the government and to declare a state of emergency, there were some protests by those who were calling for the dissolution of the government. But these people were mainly not representing the majority of Sudanese people, and the counter-revolutions that are currently supportive of Prime Minister Hamdok are gaining momentum. Despite the internet outage, they are gaining momentum, and I don't think the international community are keen to see another Horn of African country going down into chaos, because we're talking about just 2-3 years ago, we were talking about hope in the Horn of Africa with the signing of peace treaty between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and other developments in the country, in the region, and including the ousting of long-term Sudanese ruler Omar al-Bashir, and the paving of way to a transitional government that was to lead the country towards election. But in fact, it's worth to note that the disappointment of the international community is because it has actually, the current transitional government has helped Sudan being removed from the list of countries or states that were funding terrorism. It had Abdullah Hamdok's government was also successful to ensure that debt relief was achieved to a large extent, and the peace agreements that were signed with rebels. And it was actually clear that the country was on the right path towards democracy, despite the turbulent situation in the region, and the current move by the General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan actually throws all these achievements into the air.
All right. Lastly, can you tell us what the situation is currently now? Are people going about their businesses? Is the internet restored now?
The internet is not restored at the moment, and many government workers actually are practicing civil disobedience to actually force the military to back off and return the affairs of the country, the ruling of the affairs of the country to the legitimate transitional government. And it is worth it to note that the era of the partnership between the civilian and the military was about to end before these events unfolded. And it actually started with the country being represented as going through turmoil, with the terrorist activities taking place in some parts of the country. Some tribes, the Bija tribes in the east of the country, were actually also protesting, and they closed down the port, and they were choking the country's economy. So all these were actually preliminary moves to create some, strife within the civilians themselves. But it seems that even though some members of the government, like the Minister of Finance, who are closely allied to the military. The vast majority of the civilians are wary of any military takeover, and they want their hard-earned revolution and democracy to return on path. So that is what I think will continue in the next few days. And Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's rule or survival in this situation will largely depend on how regional countries, African countries, and Gulf countries will react, because at the moment we can see the international community mainly the Western countries are not really happy with what's happening. We're aware of the U.S. Suspending its military, its aid, around $700 million that was allocated for Sudan, and the European Union were doing the same. So with the country at the moment surviving mainly on the international aid, I don't know how long such a rule that is not pleasing or is not very much welcomed will survive.
Right. Thank you so much, Ibrahim Mokhtar, a researcher at International Relations at Ankara-based Yildirim Bayatzi University. Thank you so much. We hope we will follow this story closely as Sudan unfolds in the coming days. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
All right. It's still on Breakfast Central on News Central. More top stories.
Nigeria Monday became the latest country to launch a digital currency backed by its central bank with the aim of improving its payment systems. Residents of Africa's largest country by population can now make payments using the Naira, a digital complement to the country's physical currency that has been described by many as a major step forward in the evolution of money.
To help us understand how the Inara will affect SMEs, which contribute 48% of Nigeria's national GDP, it also accounts for 96% of businesses and 48% of employment, we have Nkechi Alade. She is the principal business consultant, Elva Reader. Welcome to the program, Nkechi. Let's begin with a proper understanding of the Inara. Help us understand what it is and what it is not.
Okay, so the Inara is digital currency. It is not in any way cryptocurrency. It is just basically how you have your Naira notes, but it's now digital form, which is now available online. However, it's different because it's not the same amount of money you have in your bank account. For example, you have to create a wallet to be able to have create like Inara. So probably pay money or do transfers from your bank to be able to have an e-wallet, which is what the government has now launched. So that's what we have in simple terms. It's basically just the ability to have Naira, digital currency. That's what it's called, globally. That's really the simple way to go about it. It's really nothing too techy. It's just digital currency that is being manufactured by the Central Bank of Nigeria for its citizens.
And it is the first of its kind in Africa. Now, a lot of people are wondering, really, what's the future for small business owners looking at the launch of Inara, the platform now?
So, SMEs, we contribute so much to the GDP currently. One of the major issues that are faced are, cheaper and faster ways to be able to move your money around and be able to do business with both your vendors, your staff, your team, both within Nigeria and outside. So what, the Inara has promised is that, hey, we're going to be able to give you guys a situation whereby it's almost, you're making transfers at almost 0 Naira, which would be great for SMEs, really, because the idea is that I have an Inara wallet, you have an Inara wallet, we can easily do transfers, and it's free. So they're letting go of the middleman, and then they're bringing a solution that is working for all of us without having to use currencies or having to sort of go into the bank to do transactions. So in the long run, if this is done as it should be, as they have said, it will make very great impact for SMEs within Nigeria to be able to trade into, amongst themselves and even across border, as they have promised would be possible.
All right, Nkechi, the Inara comes with a number of benefits, but considering the conversation around cybercrime, how secure and how safe are these small businesses with the Inara in place?
So I'll be honest and say that yes, this Inara platform has not been developed by a Nigerian company. It was developed by some company in Barbados who, yes, has registered in Nigeria. CBN has some good stake in it as well, and all of that to protect our data. However, there are limitations to everything in the sense that, yes, this information will be shared with third parties. And at the same time, what I would say is I've seen that from the research and information they've put out, there's quite good KYC that goes behind it. No two persons, not one person cannot have two Inara accounts, for example. You're supposed to have your NIN at the barest minimum because there are different tiers to this Inara thing. So, there are different level 1, 2, 3. At the basic level, you must have NIN, and then to be able to do more transactions, you should have your BVN. So the CBN has sort of putting some things in place to ensure that people are safe and able to do business, as well as, the anti-money laundering. They're very enforcing that as well to make sure that people are protected on an individual and on a business standpoint as well.
All right, now, Nkechi, looking at the Naira, from the papers this morning, we read that there's been over 100,000 downloads, and the Naira is supposed at the point of downloading, it asks for your bank details, meaning you have to impute your bank details. Yet we get information that the e-wallet is not linked to your bank information or your bank account. Isn't that a little bit confusing?
It is actually a bit confusing because I've also read that there've been a lot of struggles. Personally, I've tried to get the wallet, but I haven't been able to. It hasn't worked yet. And from research, I saw that you have to sort of link the email address you have tied to your BVN. So two things, some people don't even have emails for BVN, while some people have used old emails that are no longer active. So like, for example, I registered and I still haven't gotten a link. So maybe the email I'm trying to use is not the email address that is tied to my BVN. So these are some glitches. But let's also give it some time because, when people start to use, they start to find different issues, which obviously should have been sorted out testing phase, but it's launched now. So they need to act fast to make sure that they can tidy up this product to ensure that the Nigerians continue using it because the generation they are targeting are very tech savvy. So a lot of things are going to be, considered if they are really going to use this platform to really help improve the country's economy, which they claim in the next 10 years, everything should be, amazing with the introduction of the Inara. So yes, there's some challenges that I have personally faced, and I've seen a lot of that information going around online as well.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you so much, Nkechi Alade, Principal Business Consultant, Eva Reader, for breaking it down for us and also to all SMEs. I'm sure they've learned a lot here on Breakfast Central. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
All right. Well, we have been able to touch base with all the stories and taking a look at, most importantly, going from Nigeria all the way to what's happening out there, Sudan, and so on and so forth. But let's quickly bring you a recap just in case you missed out on our top stories for today.
And we talked about how the Sudan Prime Minister Abdullah Hamdok has been released.
And besides that story, we also told you about police IG deploying DGs, AIGs ahead of the elections.
And with our guest Nkechi explaining Inara and its implications on SMEs.
And of course, looking at what will be coming up next, we have more and more here on Breakfast Central. Let's quickly tell you that coming up next, Ghanaian musician Shatta Wale has been granted bail.
Plus, we'll be giving you COVID-19 updates from the continent of Africa.
And look out for amazing programs to watch later today on News Central.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central on News Central. Many thanks for watching. Now, if you're yet to download the News Central mobile app on Play Store and the iOS Store, please hurry and do that right away so you can stay in touch with the latest news, politics, sports, and more on the go.
All right, now let's move on straight to COVID updates. Just to remind our viewers that the COVID-19 pandemic is actually still spreading across Africa and the entire globe. And here are a few updates for you. We'll start off first in Zimbabwe, where the country is set to ramp up its vaccination campaign to attain herd immunity against the COVID-19 by year end. According to the Zimbabwean Information Minister, Monica Mutsvangwa, a program of activities were compiled in consultation with all relevant stakeholders to accelerate the vaccination campaign.
Now, the country has acquired about 13 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines, with over 3.275 million first doses and 2.545 million second doses have been administered. Now, the minister urged all citizens who are yet to be inoculated to present themselves for vaccination, as the country aims to vaccinate 10 million people out of the population of about 14 million by December of this year.
And I think it's a great thing that they're doing out there in Zimbabwe, ensuring that everyone is vaccinated, especially looking at the fact that before year end, they already have their plans.
Yeah, and let's also not forget that in Zimbabwe, there's been the story of selling of vaccination cards, and the government has been trying their best to put a stop to the sales of vaccination cards, especially from health workers.
You always have the black market one way or the other. Something must happen, but
it finds a way to try it.
It always does. It always does. But away from Zimbabwe, let's take you straight to Togo right now. Togo has received 702,000 doses of Chinese Sinovac vaccines, and they have actually received this through the COVAX facility. The new batch of vaccines were received at the Nasigbe Yadema International Airport by the Togolese Minister of Health, Mustafa Mijiyawa, in the presence of the representatives of WHO and UNICEF in Togo.
This is the largest batch of vaccines received by the country through COVAX since March of 2021, when vaccine supply in Togo commenced. Now, the health minister described the arrival as a major boost to the vaccination strategy deployed by the government, which planned to immune at least 60% of the target population.
That's right. Let's also quickly bring to you the index. According to the Africa Center for Disease Control, the region has recorded over 8.5 million confirmed cases with over 217,000 deaths, while no doubt the recovery has actually been pegged at 7,887,351. The source, no doubt, is coming from the Africa CDC. And that's exactly what we have going.
A very good one.
We'll just tell you here on Breakfast that we need to be cautious. Yes, just make sure that you keep putting on that face mask of yours and protect yourself. Wash your hands and so on.
And maintain social distancing, just as myself and Joe are clearly doing on set
It's your turn. You brought that in today. Anyway, let's tell you that we're going to leave COVID-19 updates. You're still watching Breakfast Central. Drop your comments. You can find a WhatsApp number right there on the screen. Do that now. And let's hear what you have to say about all the stories and the news that you're getting here on News Central's Breakfast Central. Up next, entertainment.
Many thanks for watching. It is time now for entertainment, and we have Gabriella to give us the latest. Good morning, Gabby.
Good morning to you, Gabrielle.
Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Oluchi. So I'll get straight into the stories. Now, barely a month after releasing her much-awaited album, Spirit Animal, Afropop queen Victoria Kimani recently took to social media to share the exciting news of the album being considered for the 2022 Grammy Awards nomination. Now, the release of the 16-track album comes 1 year after Grammy-nominated album with FKI titled Africa. Spirit Animal album features performers such as Kidi, Bellish Murda, Yemi Alade, Peruzzi, HR, The Band, Pretty Ugly, and Lady Do. And her fans regard this as her best work so far, which also reveals more of her unique personality. In an Instagram post a few days back, Victoria Kimani said, and I quote, "My collaborators and I worked so hard creating these pure Afro-pop vibes. To the voting members of the Recording Academy, thank you for considering my fourth album, Spirit Animal." Also, independent singer, songwriter, and rapper who is called Gabriel Untu Necessary, got recognition for his work on his latest EP, Genesis, in this year's Behind the Record initiative. The Recording Academy has announced the third annual Behind the Record initiative as it bids to continue giving credit to music creators, with a 64th Grammy Awards nomination announcement slated for November 23. And now in Nigeria, Made Kuti is set to return on stage days after the 2021 edition of Celebration. Made Kuti, who made his debut as a solo act with his band earlier in the year, will be returning on stage with high life duo Cavemen. The grandson of the legendary late Fela Kuti and his band, the Movement Band, will be delivering an electrifying performance on Friday, October 29, 2021 at the Oriental Hotel, Lagos. It promises to be a night of vibes on vibes as Made performs from his debut album Forward, as well as new songs yet to be released. A representative of Funke Kuti management highlighted the importance of featuring the remarkable high-life duo, the Cavemen, in this statement. And she said, there are so many individuals doing great songs, and the duo of Cavemen have carved a niche for themselves. Hence, the reason they will be performing all their popular hits at this concert. Fans are definitely looking forward to a nice time at this concert, and of course, looking forward to this powerful collaboration. And now I'll take you to the Gold Coast, where it's good news for both fans of Shatta Wale and Medical, as both celebrities who were on remand appeared before the Accra Circuit Court hearing their respective cases yesterday and were granted bail. We recall that Shatta Wale was arrested for publication of false news staging report that he was shot, while Medical joined him at the Anchor 4 prison because he was arrested for brandishing a gun on social media on Tuesday. Both Shatta Wale and Medical pleaded not guilty to the charges levied against them and have been released on 100,000 Ghana cedis bail as the court adjourned the sitting to November 9, 2021. The musicians were friends after going through the bail process to be released from the Anchor 4 prison, headed over to a beach for a spiritual cleansing. This is because some people hold the belief that after anyone comes out from prison, they must have a sea bath to wash away any bad omen before being incorporated again into the society. Shatta Wale and Medical carried out this cleansing at a beach in the company of close friends and, of course, family. Let's take a look at the video. Okay, so that's video showing their release, and that's really all I've got for you guys on entertainment today.
Wow, Gabby.
Shatta Wale.
It's a sea bath for me. I mean, I'm just like,
Shatta.
really?
I mean, funny enough, I'm a big fan of Shatta Wale, by the way. I'm just a big fan. I'm also a big fan of Made Kuti. I mean, I can't wait to like groove this Friday.
So this
it's
is all good
going
news
down this Friday, you know. Thank you so much, Gabby. Thank you, and thank you. Well done. Well done. All right, so that was Gabriella, like we call her here. Well, we've got sports and much more still to come. Stay with us. And still to come, Carabao Cup, Ivorian Nicolas Pepe assists as Arsenal zoom into quarterfinals, plus Chelsea did the same too yesterday. So we'll tell you all about that. Just stay with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's Breakfast Central, and yesterday Arsenal got back to another winning way in the Carabao Cup. Well, Tolu today is here to tell us, although I feel he's been a bit biased because Chelsea also won yesterday. But it's fine, Tolu, it's fine. It's all right. Tell us about the game.
All right, so it was all about the Carabao Cup yesterday, like you rightfully said. I think everyone on the African continent probably either supports Arsenal or Chelsea, and both were in action in the Carabao Cup yesterday. Nicolas Pepe, who's had a really difficult time at Arsenal, he started that game for the Gunners. It was always going to be difficult against Leeds United, but at the end of the day, they made it look a little easy. Finished 2-0 in favour of the Gunners. They took the lead in the second half, and then Eddie Nketiah, who is somehow Ghanaian, he is eligible to play for Ghana. He wrapped up the victory for Arsenal with the second goal in that game. Nicolas Pepe did provide an assist in that game for Arsenal. So Arsenal safely through to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. Chelsea, they didn't have the Senegal goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy. He didn't take part. But that's back-to-back penalty wins for Chelsea now in the Carabao Cup. They won in the previous round of penalties. This time, it was against Southampton. It finished 1-1 for Arsenal. Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's eligible to play for Ghana, played all 90 minutes for Chelsea and did also take a penalty for the Chelsea team. Finished 1-1, like I said, and Chelsea went on to win the penalty shootout. You were almost certain that Kepa Arrizabalaga was going to save penalties for Chelsea in that one, and he didn't disappoint. He was the star of the show as he saved a couple of penalties as Chelsea also progressed to the quarterfinals. There are more games to look ahead to in the Carabao Cup later today. More and more teams will be in action, although the peak of the ties is the one right at the bottom there. West Ham United were doing really well in the Premier League this year. They are taking on Manchester City, who are the defending champions. Remember, they've won the tournament back to back. So they are the ones to beat. Stoke City up against Brentford. Liverpool go away to Preston North End. Leicester City, who have a couple of Africans, including Patson Daka, who could start the Zambian international. They take on Brighton and Hove Albion. Tottenham Hotspur go away to Burnley. So those are the games to expect in the Carabao Cup later today. Let's quickly go to the NBA next, where the new season continues to throw up a lot of interesting results in the latest round of matches in the NBA. The New York Knicks are getting back into full tilt. 112-99, they defeated the Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid, the Cameroonian, not the best start for the Sixers. The Oklahoma City Thunder lost to the Golden State Warriors, who started like a house on fire. The Dallas Mavericks beat the Houston Rockets. The LA Lakers also picked up a big win against the San Antonio Spurs. That one finished 125-121. And the Utah Jazz defeated the Denver Nuggets 122-110. So that's all of the sport right now. It's back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Tolu. I mean, I'm wondering how Arsenal are getting back into winning ways all of a sudden, you know.
Arsenal are a good team, Joe. I can almost feel the spurt. The thing about since Mikel Arteta joined Arsenal is they almost feel like a cup team nowadays. You almost feel like they're probably not going to get into the top four of the Premier League, but they take those cup competitions quite seriously. And if you saw the way they played against Leeds yesterday, they look set up more as a cup team than a team ready to go the full tilt of a 38-game league season.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Tolu. And that's all the time we have for sports. But if you just tuned in, well, you've missed the show, but not to worry, because you can catch up by going over to our YouTube channel for the entire show and more. Coming up later today on News Central. At 10:30 a.m. West African time, you can get more sport updates in the game.
And at 12 p.m., you've got News Now. Get the latest news around the world and from the continent of Africa.
And by 7 p.m. West African time, you can have a date with Village Square Africa.
And that does it for us today on the program Breakfast Central, starting off your Wednesday morning on a brighter note with up-to-date information and news.
And on behalf of Joe, myself, technical and production crew, we're saying do have yourself a lovely Wednesday. See you tomorrow. Adama.